Hello and welcome to another video on this channel. My name is King, and for those who are new here, welcome, have a seat. I hope you have a wonderful time today with me. And today we'll be talking about a film that recently came out because it's the 2025 movie, and this movie is set in Norway, which is interesting because the ice palace that I will keep on talking about it's also by a Norwegian author, also set in Norway. So like I feel like across also the movie was entirely in the language of the Norwegian people, which was such a delight. I enjoyed this movie from start to finish, and that is why I want to speak about it. Now this movie is centered around a very popular fairy tale, Cinderella, and it comes with a twist from the overview I read online, though through the perspective of the evil stepsister. But like something that's very interesting to me is that all the while I've watched Cinderella and its iterations over the years, I've always put myself in the shoes of said stepsister. In the sense that I've always seen myself as capable of being that disingenuous and just mean spirited, to stop this innocent, pretty, deserving princess of her prince and her fairy tale ending and all of that. I don't know why I don't even have sisters in real life, but I just felt that way. I felt like I was capable of doing that. And then there was Disney making the Being Never After with one of the sisters. I think it was the one with the pink dress. Anastasia, also falling in love with some other guy and having our own fairy tale and all of that. And instead of chasing after, and then in that happily never after, we see that the sisters, or at least that one sister, is not interested in imaginations of her mother is to make her marry prince. She doesn't even care about that life, she doesn't care about the royal, the boss. She just wants to eat food and be happy and play and be simple. You get, but she cannot say that to her mother. She can't even accept that to herself. I don't think I ever watched it except in bits and pieces. Maybe I'll watch it after this video. The movie I'm talking about, let me introduce it now. The movie I'm talking about is The Ugly Stepsister. Then stages testosterone. I'm so sorry. Like I just really love that the title is in that language. Again, I love it so much. So anyways, yes. So in my mind, I'm referring to it as the stage, and I don't know if that's even correct, but that's testosterone means stepsister. And I know this because at some point in the movie, the royal town crier comes to give an announcement about the ball that the prince is looking for to find a wife or a princess, and the Cinderella, what's her name, is there. She's looking at him, and as she announces her own self as partaking in the ball, and then the sister too is there. The stepsister by now is there, and she's like looking at her like, just your name, what's your son name? And uh the Cinderella calls her stepsister, and then that one now registers her name as testosterone or test. So I'm gonna check the name first. I'm going to start this video with the most interesting things, like the things that are very interesting to me as I watched the movie, and then I'm going to tell you my takeaway from watching the movie, because we all know the storyline. Yeah, an old frail man with a daughter, and a widower, a rich widower marries a widow with her two daughters, and they both marry and they both come together and they are all living house. And then after some time, the man dies. And when the man dies, the stepmother takes over the home and the property and the estate, and relegates the actual daughter of the man, of the widower, to become a housemaid. And this housemaid eventually somehow, through magic, makes it to the ball, and this is the last impression of the prince, but runs away at midnight. Then the prince traces her with her glass slipper she left behind, and the slipper can only fit Cinderella's feet. Finds this girl, the Cinderella, with her slippers, and that's the end of the story. Happily ever after. And we never see what happens to the stepsister or the stepmother or Lucifer after everything. So I'm going to start with the things that were very interesting to me in this um adaptation of Cinderella. So the first thing I'm going to start with are the points that I made, you know, about the fun, the things that piqued my interest, that made it such a glamorous, wonderful horror movie for me. It kind of leans on horror, like as if it was trying to be an accurate Grimm's Brothers fairy tale sort of thing, and they actually pulled it off for me, in my own opinion. But I know, like, I don't know, I didn't read anything about the making or director's inspiration or direction for the movie. So let's just go off of what I felt. The first meeting between Cinderella and, no, let's not call her Cinderella yet. Her name is Agnes. Cinderella, the title came much later on. The first meeting between Agnes and Elvira, that's the sister of interest, the sister's POV we are watching now. It was interesting because Elvira was looking at her as this, already put her up in this category of, a beauty, somebody, a beautiful girl, somebody to admire and, fawn over. And Agnes was just like, who are these scripts? You get, basically, which is very normal in my opinion, because like these are two strangers forced together because of their parents' personal goals they hope to achieve with the marriage. It was not a love marriage, it was a convenience marriage. Agnes was convinced of the marriage because her father told her that they had money, like the woman, the widow, and her daughters had money. And the widow convinced her daughters that this man had money, so they had to behave. And the widow, her name is Rebecca, as her daughters are Elvira and Alma. And Agnes, don't remember her father's name. Anyways, the second thing I noticed is the high self worth obvious in Cinderella. Sorry, the high self worth obvious in Agnes. Agnes carried herself with this sense of, yes, I am beautiful. Yes, I'm top of the food chain. Yes, I am a I'm a nobleman's daughter. And it's just like innate to her. It was just innate to her. Elvira was the opposite. She was down and out. Her mother was disadvantaged. Her mother was poor, and they were poor. All Elvira had was her fantasies of meeting Prince Julian, and she read his poem from cover to cover, cover to cover, memorized all of its lines. Saw into this pink-hued fantasy gaze and imaginations and all of that. So that was her high point, her high, the thing that motivated her, the thing that made her life much, much fun, her fantasies about Prince Julian, compared to somebody that knows in and of themselves that they are the shit man, like a nobleman's daughter, of course. Then the next thing that was interesting was the affair between Stable Boy and Agnes. That was not in any, I've not seen that in any iterations of Cinderella. Yeah. Um the characters that played Cinderella have never had this love outside of the prince. The prince has had always been, they would meet the prince, the symbolic prince, maybe randomly or anonymously. They wouldn't even know that that was the prince. Somehow they liked the prince before they had a relationship with the prince before they met the prince at the ball. And now that I look at it, I feel like that's the way they try to humanize the relationship between Cinderella, the connection, the depth of the love between Cinderella and her prince, from the cartoon and all of that. But like now I think of it, like I like this iteration for that. It was so interesting to me that Agnes had a boyfriend, a stable boy, and both of them wanted to run away after her father was buried successfully. But mother, the stepmother, I mean, Rebecca, was not interested in that. She had other plans. Either ways, Agnes was taking a lot of consolation and solace in her boyfriend, which was very, very normal, And her boyfriend was like, that's the stable hand. He was like, "Now let's just run away." And she was like, "No, I need the money to bury my father, and he can't just be rotting away in that room and all of that." So that leads me to the other interesting fact that Agnes was motivated to enter the prince's ball for money. She was not rushing to find her true love. She wanted freedom. She wanted to survive. She knew that living with this stepmother would be her doom. more or less, mostly. Do you get? So that was very interesting to me. It kind of made it very clear how why she felt so desperate. Like it gave a new view, a new perspective to the need, that Cinderella had to be at the prince's ball. Like in the cartoon, yes, Cinderella was mostly living in the like at the top of the towers. She was the one responsible for cleaning, cooking, sweeping, carrying every single thing. She was bound to the whims of her caregivers as the adults in the house, as the stepmother, and then the whims of her stepsisters, who I think she was older than or something, but she had to play servant to them. So of course I see also her motivation, but the cloud of romance and the idea of love mostly blinded me to Cinderella's desire to survive, most of all, like most first and foremost in the story, in the cartoon. Do you get? I was very, very I was the wool. I let the wool come over my eyes to not see her survive because wanting to survive, meeting a man, a rich man, and wanting him to marry you for purely for survival case is not romantic. It's very ugly, and it kind of put this person, the woman, in a questionable lens now. It's like, oh, is she a gold digger for wanting to survive? Is she a money hungry, what Koreans call kupem? That thing is so fucking annoying. But like, is she a gold digger, that kind of lens? Meanwhile, this is a girl that just wants to survive. After all, how will she be a gold digger when the priest is the one that put out the ball, the call for the ball in the first place? What about that is good if when the man is getting what he wants from the woman, then the woman is getting what she wants from the man? I don't know if you get my point here, but I like this iteration of Agnes, of Cinderella here, where she has a boyfriend, but she cannot run away for love because she has responsibilities. She wants to reclaim her estate and bury her father in his land. And she needs the money and the power and the status. So go she's going to enter the prince's ball. It's also interesting because in that, like, Agnes bears no appeal or attraction for the prince at all. We can see it when Elvira is trying to like read this poem of Julian's to her. She's like, I've read this poem over and over. I'm curious. What do you think? And she's like, he's talking about his cock. And it ruins the fantasy. It makes him seem like just an ordinary random ass man. You get that he's just putting his dick first before his brain. And Elvira is angry and she retaliates and all of that, but that's later in the story. So those are the most interesting aspects of Agnes. Now, the interesting things about Elvira. Now, the first thing is her attempt at friendship with Agnes. It was interesting to me. I was actually hoping that her attempt at friendship with Agnes would mean like maybe this, because it was just the beginning of the movie, yeah, of the film. I was like, maybe this would mean she won't be so evil minded towards Agnes. Maybe she would have some sort of empathy for Agnes or feel empathy and rebel against her mother. That was a reach on my end. Second thing, her surname registers at Stetsoster. Stetsoster. Yes. So it was a very, very, very funny scene. I've already said it before, but like when the town crier just sitting down standing, Agnes refuses to give Elvira her father's name in that moment. She's like, what the, who are you? Why were you like, Agnes has a high sense of worth, sense of self-worth and her standing in society. She knows that this Elvira and her mother and her sisters are way, way beneath her. They should not even be able to talk to her on the street. And like she's like, how will I give you my father's name? Ugh, you know? So she doesn't say anything, she doesn't correct the town crier. And at this point, Elvira is such a you know, timid child that cannot speak up for herself. Now, the third thing is her weight being called fat. Like throughout the whole, even from I think from the first moment Agnes's father meets the children, he sees Elvira as a weirdo. I think he calls her a pig or something because of the way she was like she the food was in front of her. I don't know. I think there was a moment at first dinner where he called her a pig, and it was supposed to be passed off as a joke, and Rebecca had to laugh along because like he's the one with the money, he's the widower with the wealth, and Agnes was like laughing her head off, and her father was laughing his head off, and then he had a stroke. Good for him. Like calling her fat is just a reach. Like that child is not fat. Let's stop lying. But it was really interesting that it was like that was important to establish that she was perceived as fat, and everybody, even herself, was seeing herself as fat. And it didn't help that she also had a massive appetite, which is the next thing. Her massive appetite. She, like it, so it's made clear that Elvira loves to eat, and she eats without apology. But after her stepfather dies, and her mother has this plan, her mother now starts to say things like, "Stop eating, eat only one grape and drink water." All of those things. It's so I liked it. I liked it because it's like girls girls have appetite, women have appetite, they're allowed to have appetite. And sometimes, most of the time, most girls with appetite are being punished and mocked until they learn how to suppress their appetite. Do you get? But then there's also the one boy society that you can't suppress your appetite too much. If you suppress your appetite too much, you become anorexic, and anorexia is something to be stigmatized over. If you eat too much, it's bulimia, and it's something to also be stigmatized over. So you have to find a middle ground for it. That is why even when men obviously have appetite or eating disorders, it's not noticed, it's not paid attention to, because it's just interesting to me that she had a massive appetite. And as much as she liked food, she was still average sized. But they were now, the way the society was doing, I was like, I see the story was presented, I was like, she's fat because she eats a lot of food. She's fat because she likes food. It's not enough for you to eat to survive. You have to not like the food that you're eating. If you like the food that you're eating, you are seen as some kind of what they used to call it, foodie. And all those, and I know people have reclaimed the term foodie to mean something like cute, and I'm a foodie, blah blah blah, hashtag foodie. It was not funny for me, like it was not. And it's funny and it's interesting to me because even me growing up, like I established earlier, that I used to see myself in the shoes of the ugly stepsister or the evil stepsister. It's just, for me growing up here, I don't think I enjoyed food. When I go to a different country and I experience a different menu, maybe I would have some new revived interest in cuisines and palettes and all of that. But for now, I don't think I've ever enjoyed eating food. I enjoy pastries and sweets and all that, but food is not something that makes me excited, because I used to do a lot of emotional eating. Emotional eating that I want to make the person that made the food feel good. I'm eating so that for so many reasons aside of hunger, that's what I used to eat for. So then the other thing is, which is the biggest thing, is her submissive attitude towards the whims and dictates of her mother. Now, Elvira, like I said, is a timid child, was a timid child, and I'm sure she was timid because her whole life, her whole being has always been dictated by her mother's command. Everything her mother tells her to do, she do. Every way her mother asks her to be, even though she cannot succeed at being it, she tries at being it. You get? And this submission and timidity and intimidation and all of that is so starkly different from her younger sister Alma. Alma does not experience any of that feeling, that compulsion to submit to their mother, and Alma is saved because of her age. She's too minor, even though Elvira is what, 14 or 16, I don't know. But Alma is deemed too small to partake in all the whole ceremony of being the princess bride. But I just want to say that is something that we have to pay attention to. Like in the classic Cinderella, we see these children presented as them choosing to be as mean as their mother, and following the footsteps of their mother. But we're not seeing the aspect that the mother probably twisted her children into what they were presenting themselves as. What they, behavior is not the reason for anything. You have to look at the root cause of behavior. Why were they so mean to Cinderella in the classics? You get, it's probably because of the way the mother had shaped them, had taught them to be, had, and you can see it in the sequel, Happily Never After, where that Anastasia does not want to be any stupid prince's wife. She wants to eat food, she wants to play, she doesn't want to wear dresses that are too tight and wear shoes that are too tight and all of that, So I like that the light is being shared that these children are not, because they are children, yeah, these girls, they are not, they don't have that sort of agency. They don't have the agency enough, the agency of behavior, that you can now deem them as just wicked or evil. Do you get? They are the product of the mother's dictate, the product of the mother's shaping and what, indoctrination and programming and all of that. Her connection with her sister. So Elvira and Alma have a very cool sister loving connection. Yeah. Alma is somebody that speaks her mind, she's very open minded, and she thinks that behavior is just bullshit. Like, she constantly calls out their mother when she talks to her sister, because she's the last born and she's smallest. So she, when she's with the sister, she's like, why do you have to behave like this? Why you don't have to do what mom says. You don't have to do any of this. And so like, shut up, you don't understand. I'm in love with Prince Julian. And like, which Prince Julian? What do you mean in love with Prince Julian? Like, she constantly questions her elder sisters, this thing. But Elvira listens to Alma. Do you get? And Elvira is somebody that does not have a mind of her own in that sense. So it's possible that if there was no mother figure there, controlling her and twisting her into something that is not her at all, like, she would have probably paid mind to her sister's advices or her sister's guidance. Do you get? That's how Elvira is kind of, that's how I see her person to be. But I like that they had this moment of connection, that they cared about each other and they liked each other. You get? But it was not enough to undo the clause, the deep clause that are set, that were already set in Elvira's mind. The ballet classes and the ranking. This was wild to me, because it's like, I like that it also like stretched the story, the classic out, because then they say, everybody prepare, the prince is going to pick a bride from the ladies in the village, and like, of course there'll be some kind of, dilly dally, some kind of, fancy event, some kind of what do you call it? I don't know, training, yes, some kind of training, process, beauty thing, everything, everybody will be a flutter, because women and their whole femininity and everything that their femininity encapsulates is something that is very exciting. It's just exciting in and of itself. It's something exciting. Like, preparing for a party is exciting, dressing up with your girlies is exciting, picking your outfit of the week is exciting, like the makeup, everything is so interesting actually in and of itself, where it becomes something laborious, something mind bending, something dysphoric and causes dysmorphia, is where all of this is for the performance, of performance to an overload system, which we'll get to in a bit. But I like the black ballet classes when they God, I know ballet per se, it's kind of like just dancing classes. You get, like, it's everything, but it looks like ballet lessons and all that. So Agnes signs up for ballet lessons, and the stepmother does not stop her. But the stepmother also signs up Elvira, because she keeps on telling Elvira, like, he keeps on reinforcing to Elvira, you are pretty, you are this. But like, the thing about this enforcing, like the way she kept on using these words of affirmation to Elvira, is like she keeps on telling her that, Elvira, you're better than Agnes, you're much, much prettier. But the things that the mother does contradict all of that. The mother obviously feels threatened by Agnes, and so she pays the ballet teachers to allow her daughter, make it past the evaluation, even if it's in last place. So it's like, you can't be saying this Like you can't be telling your child that you are beautiful, you are better than this girl, you are much much prettier than this other girl, you make it than the other girls, the person is going to pick you, and then pay for your daughter to um not have to go through any sort of test or fail the test. You pay for your daughter to go under the knife without, like you pay for your daughter to go under the knife and her nose to be broken without anesthesia while you are looking on, and you now say that your daughter is beautiful. Like it's going to cause this kind of dissonance in anybody's head. Do you get that kind of thing? Like, it's so interesting because when the mother was saying it at first, I was like, why is this woman so obviously arrogant? You know, like saying things like, you are better than all the other girls. You are going to get into the prince's house. You're going to get into the prince's heart and blah blah blah. And it's like, um,
Just want to say that it also reeks of inauthenticity. You cannot be telling your daughter that she's beautiful and that she's going to win the prince's heart, when in the same instant you want her to lose weight, you tell her her nose is ugly and that she needs to get plastic surgery for the nose and pay for her not to fail her evaluation.
but before we even go too deep in all of that, I'll talk about that in the mother's aspect. But like for Elvira now, it's like when Elvira is in that class, do you get, we can clearly see, and I don't know why we can clearly see. I think it's because all of us have been programmed with these ideas of conventional beauty standards. That's why when Elvira is standing in the midst of the other girlies here, we can literally see how Agnes gives her light years in beauty. Do you get? It's not because Agnes is some beauty. It's just because you can see the standards that are being upheld within Agnes's person, within Agnes's physicality, and the ballet lessons, the ballet teachers don't hide it. They put Agnes front and center. She's blonde. She has everything. I mean, I don't even personally. I don't know what people's own issues are with noses. I really don't know what a good nose looks like or what a bad nose looks like. I don't assign noses as ugly or pretty, to be honest. It's just like, what are you talking about? So, but like, apparently Agnes meets all of that, and it's so obvious, like, because you see the girls that are placed last with Elvira, they look so different, and Elvira kind of fits in there. Do you get? Which is so cool. I like that. It's so obvious. Do you get that? That ugly stepsister title is not for nothing. She is ugly. When they make all these movies and they say things like especially in Korean drama, that I watch a lot of Korean drama, they'll say things like, this girl is so ugly that the boy did not notice her, and then she went through a makeover in the future, and she grew up and the boy noticed her and she's now fine. And it's like, there's no difference between the old girl and the new girl, the new version of the girl. Do you get? There's no difference. So like, what are you talking about? What are we talking about here? Why are we lying to ourselves here? But this one, Elvira is literally, yes, she's literally in the ugly category. This leads me to the next one, which is her beauty ranking. So, like I said, Elvira is ugly with the rest of the uglos. Elvira has braces on, yes, that's very important. So Elvira has braces on, and apparently her eyes, her face is fat. She has this double chin, which is very noticeable. She has a double chin, and is supposed to be a sign that her face is fat. Do you get? When she turns her profile, her angles and everything are not there because she has a round face. Her neck is thick. Her body cannot fit into the ballet fit, the ballet dresses that they put on there. It looks square on her. It doesn't give her this silhouette that you'd expect of a classical graceful ballerina. You get? So like, it's all obvious. But what is interesting to me is how her beauty rank rises. Have like, first of all, before the classes even go far, her mother takes her to Doctor Aesthetic. Doctor Aesthetic put her in a chair in the same literal room with Alma, watching the whole horror. With the mother, this girl is put on a chair and her nose is literally broken. I see somebody is sculpting. So me, I don't call it surgery. I called it sculpting. As her nose is being sculpted to perfection. And she screamed. I could not even listen to the scream. I had to turn the volume down. It was insane. So her nose is being worked on, and that she now has on this cage or something, like, to protect the nose as it heals to get into its new shape, and it gives her these ugly bruises on her eyes. She just looks so terrible, post sculpting, not post up, post sculpting, and it's so annoying to me. Like it was so disturbing. Like she now looked even uglier. And then the next thing was like they had to take out her braces, and she told her mom to take out her braces at some point, and you see them take out the braces. Then the weight thing. Before we get to the weight thing, because there's something I want to address about that weight stuff, but like her ranking actually increases. You can see her beauty in your eyes here, even if you are aware of it or not. You see that her beauty escalates. It comes up, you know, as the procedure she undergoes also escalates. Her beauty ranking rises up. So there is some truth, if truth is being applied to this all situations being ideal, the truth that when you undergo these procedures and everything, yes, you will meet this conventional standards of beauty. You will meet it. And again, those beauty operations were not cheap. You get, that is why the mother refused to buy a land to bury Agnes's father. His corpse is busy rotting, and Agnes visits the corpse every day to cry and to mourn and all of that. To get, meanwhile, Agnes goes to school with the ballet lessons with her head held high. And it's not just ballet, they have lessons in how to walk, how to, use your fan, how to step, how to speak, how to be. You get, like they are being shaped internally and outwardly, to fit this prince matter, to fit this prince demands. Do you get, to fit the level that will catch the prince's attention? Her weight reduces. How does her weight reduce? How does somebody that is already like a size, is it 8 at least, or a 12? How that can't be a 12. Okay, let's just say she's a 12, size 12, UK size 12, and she's that size 12. How does she go from size 12 to Agnes's level of thinness? She's giving a tapeworm, and the fucking tapeworm, man. She's giving a tapeworm egg. How does this happen? She meets one of the lessons, the teachers in the school, the beauty school, and that one tells her that I know you, I know your type, I know. And Elvira is busy mourning how she's so ugly, how she'll never be pretty enough, that she doesn't have the time, blah blah blah. And the woman like, don't worry, you're beautiful, you're beautiful, you're beautiful. And that's the thing about all these things. All of them keep on telling Elvira she's beautiful, but they contradict themselves by giving her ways to alter her natural state. It's like they will say things like this one, and this one say that there's a beauty inside of you, and you have to do what it takes to bring this beauty out. Do you get? And she's like, how do I bring the beauty out? And she gives her a fucking tapeworm. I did not even go to read. She gives her a tapeworm egg. Like, are we? It's so fucking tragic. It's the most tragic thing ever, because it's like it highlights how when we talk about all this beauty positivity, self-love things, it's like on we are saying self-love, we are preaching beauty positivity, we're telling ourselves beauty affirmations, but we are also altering the self that we claim to love, you know. And this came, like, this video is coming up in time because I just saw this TikTok post on Twitter where somebody was like, I'm shooting my shot, I want to ask Kylie Jenner how the kind of breast implant she got, the kind of breast thing she did for her, augmentation she got. And Kylie Jenner responds with all the details and the doctor's name and everything, and the person goes, this is why I love her, she's a girl's girl, she's real. And it's like, you calling somebody a girl's girl implies a lot of it implies that you attach a lot of positivity to her, to this person, to what this person did for you. And it's like this person is telling you to cut open your breast and put silicone there so that it will look prettier, for so it look pretty as her, that is at the top of the beautiful chain, that her as her that is fulfilling all the standards of beauty, that her money, her position, her status, her wealth can afford her. And you that are not in the same position, They're calling her a girl's girl for that. It's so, it's just like this one, like where the woman is like comforting Elvira, so comforting her, telling her, you are beautiful. I see it in you. It's inside. It just has to come out. So therefore, let me scoop up your insides with a worm, with a biological weapon. Let me put a biological weapon in your inside and scoop it out so that you can, that beautiful you can come out. Like, what are we doing here? And I just kept on watching it, and my brain was just getting fried and fried and fried, and I could not stop. It was like I could foresee this train wreck, but I wanted to see it. I wanted to see where it would go. I want to see how far Elvira would get to. And it's so interesting that Elvira did all of this, and the movie is called The Ugly Stepsister. So, like, she could not win, you know. I know there's some meta narrative or whatever, but she could still not win that title of being ugly. She could not change it, really. To get so, let's not stay too long. Let's now go to her chance meeting with the prince, where so she's on the grassy knoll, she's enjoying herself in the forest with her sister, and her sister leaves her in annoyance because she shows her sister the fucking tapeworm egg, and sister like, why would you put that in your body? Are you insane? And she's like, I'll tell mom. Like, don't tell mom, don't tell mom, blah blah blah, please 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 don't tell mom. I have to just meet the prince. I love the prince so much. I have the antidote. When I lose weight to a certain level, and I will take the antidote, I'll be fine. Please don't tell mom, please don't tell mom. The girl is angry and she leaves her there because our siblings, we can't just, rat out our siblings. You get, no matter how crazy whatever they are doing is, we just have to protect them in silence or something. I don't know. It's just something siblings do. So but you can be angry at the said sibling, and and she leaves her there without the horse, and Elvira is stuck. She starts trekking. You get, she starts walking through the man. She hears voices from afar, and then she goes and she sees the prince with his guys, with his men, and they're all playing and they're all talking, and at some point he pulls off his pants and is taking a piece, and his bum is in full sight of the camera, and it's the most disgusting thing, and he looks so fucking bland. Ugh. But it's not about his blandness, it's about his status, it's about his gender. He's a man, he's a prince with all of the perks that come with being a prince. And just for being a prince, he's already elevated to fantastical levels in the heads of people, women, people with vaginas that have been indoctrinated to value and center men, especially when the man has all this wealth and status. So she sees him and she's looking at him and she's hiding, peeking at him, all her fantasies are coming through in her head, blah blah blah. But they hear a movement, she trips, and then she comes at with that cage on her nose and all of that. And he's looking at her and spin and doesn't even move, and all the old guys, as guys around him, they're just laughing at her like, oh. And then he looks at her and like, that is unfuckable. And she hears it and she's just like looking like a fool. She doesn't get this this awakening that, oh, this guy is not shit, oh, this guy is actually a piece of shit, he's an asshole. She feels like it. She now puts the onus on herself to become fuckable. Like, no, this man, I must meet his standard. And because of seeing that being declared unfuckable, that pushes her over the edge to actually, because she was debating not taking it, because of her sister's words and all of that. But like I said, the things that have set their deep clause, that the programming, the societal programming of beauty and all of that, and femininity that have clawed its way deep into our brains, you get, cannot shift. Our sister's words cannot shift them. That's why in this moment of, this triggering moment where she's being called unfuckable by the epitome of all her desire, the object of all of her affection, it pushes her over the edge and she takes the tapeworm egg. And then she goes home and she sees Agnes having sex with her boyfriend, and it fills her up with a rage. She's so enraged. I don't know why, because after being called unfuckable, for her to now go home and see her own standard of beauty, Agnes, being fucked literally as she please, and still vying for the prince's attention, which she knows Agnes is able to get at the, like, if the prince, like, Agnes is so beautiful, so high on the standard of beauty, that the prince is definitely going to fall for her. So now she's vying for the prince's attention and she's having a boyfriend to her. I'm sure the thing was so unbearable, like filled her with a rage. Do you get that? Can you imagine me being called unfucking me that I actually love the prince and this one that does not even love or care about the prince is having a boyfriend and she's fucking well, like that means the prince is going to want her. Me with my one true love. And I even thought it would be this moment where she would just be like have this camaraderie with her with Agnes, and keep her secrets. She ran to tell her mother, and her mother chased the boy out of the house and beat Elvira and punished her and declared her a maid. Say from now henceforth, you start cleaning the house. You are not worthy to be a daughter of this house. You are just so useless. You are a whore. Which is the pot calling the kettle black. Coming from Rebecca, which we'll get to in a bit. Her debut at the ball. So Elvira has gone through all the procedurable. She has even gotten eyelash extensions, which was possible at the time. In fantastical Middle Ages times, it was possible for you to get eyelash extensions. Anyway, Dr. Aesthetic does it with cocaine, I think that's what he calls it. And he puts it under her eyes or inside her eyes as he stitches on threads to or extensions to her lashes, and her eyes become this big, pretty, whatever. And at that point, after Agnes has been condemned to be a housemaid, she's taken out of the classes for the ball. She's not allowed to go to the classes anymore. She's now a maid. She has duties at home. So at that point, Elvira, fast forward, she has taken off the nose guard and her nose is now perfectly pointy. The tapeworm is doing its work in her body. She now never ever ever keeps any food down, in the sense like any food she eats, the tapeworm is the one eating the food, not her. So she's perpetually hungry. She eats and eats and eats and eats, and it's not showing in her body. She's getting progressively slimmer and slimmer, and it looks beautiful. Is that heroin chic thing we're talking about? Is also reminiscent of this Ozempic that people are taking, where you take the Ozempic drug even though you are not sick or diabetic. You take the Ozempic drug and then you literally shit your brains out, you shit your weight out in the toilet, and then you look glamorous and gorgeous and your clothes fit better, and you have the silhouette of the Agneses of the world. Like, it's so interesting, all these parallels. It's so fun. It's so fun. It's so interesting. Now, Evira has everything. She has the body. Her eyes are big as fuck. Her nose is perfectly pointy. She's pretty. Her silhouette. Now, she's the number one in the class. Like I said, the beauty rankings go up, and deservedly so. Deservedly so. She is getting prettier. She's slimmer. Her eyes are bigger. Her nose is pointier. Her skin is fairer, paler because there's no more blood in her body. The tape will be sucking all the blood, but she's pale. She eats as much as she likes, but it never ever shows up in her body. It's so inconvenient, the eating thing. Like, you see her literally fighting for her life, running to the kitchen to eat anything she sees. And in those moments, Agnes shows her a kindness. Sometimes she goes to the and she did not tell her mom that she swallowed a tapeworm's egg. So she goes to the kitchen in the darkness, looking for scraps of food to eat, and then Agnes finds her there with light and prepares something for her to eat. So that's kind of their night routine, that in the night Agnes wakes up to make a meal for her. Sometimes Agnes beats her or whatever, but Agnes is always there, and it's like a kindness. But is it a kindness or compulsion? Because she's not a maid, but like I think it's still a kindness for her to look for something to prepare for the girl to eat, for Elvira to eat. Time for the ball. A lot of events happen before they go for the ball, but that will be later. Okay, let me just say it now. The event for the ball is that Agnes prepares a dress for herself. Cinderella by now. She prepares a dress for herself. She sews it and she's excited. She says, I will go to that ball, whether I like it or not. Meanwhile, the dressmaker comes, and he comes to meet the dressmaker that this woman, the Rebecca, spent thousands of money, or to come for him to sew the perfect dress for her daughter to debut at the ball. And a man comes and they're still squeezing her inside the dress, and it's very hard. And Agnes is called in to help as a maid, help her mistress dress up. But like, as she's dressing up the girl, the dressmaker sees Agnes and is more interested in Agnes, because Agnes, all covered in dust and soot and filth, and her hair in mess and all of that, still has a better look than Elvira, still looks more attractive than Elvira to the dressmaker. And I feel like the person that is the decider of the attractiveness here is this flimsy ass old codgy dressmaker. Like it's not as if he's a real, like his opinions matter, but somehow they do simply because he's a man. Do you get? And the attractiveness scale is judged based off of how a man wants to what fuck you a girl, fuck you a woman. That makes you better in beauty or higher in beauty than your peers, than your other girls, than your fellow women. You go to the club and the number of guys that are coming up on you, rubbing themselves on you compared to your friend or you as a friend, maybe you're in the friend shoe, which I always put myself in, but maybe you're in the friend shoe and you see people men rubbing up and you decide that I must be ugly. That's why the men are rubbing up on this girl and not me. And it's like, do you want to be sexually harassed? No. But you also want to be desirable? Yes. You also want to be seen as fuckable? Yes. Why? Because it's going to make you feel better as a person. It's going to increase your sense of self-worth and going to increase your self-esteem. And is that not so fucking sick and twisted? Because at the end of the day, there is one person that is benefiting from all of this. The man. It benefits off of your insecurities and your sense of self-worth. Like, if you have a high sense of self-worth because you are fuckable to men, that means you don't have any choice but to somehow accept being sexually harassed. I mean, I'm not saying it's okay to sexually harassed or assaulted, but that's why you hear all this kind of talking point when idiots say things like, she's not even fine. Who will go on, who go on rape this kind of person? As if that's what rape is built on, as if that's what rape is founded on, your beauty. Or they'll say, oh, she's a very beautiful girl, she should not have walked around with her skirt so low. And it's like, that's also not why she was harassed or raped. So, like, it's just the contradictions are insane. Do you get? Like I was saying, that moment with the dressmaker and those two girls, Elvira and Agnes, it's like these two people are just human beings, yeah. But this man are two very pretty. At this point, Elvira is fucking beautiful. She's fucking gorgeous, yeah. But like she's a different type of gorgeous from Agnes. But why is it that difference is now judged as lower than Agnes? Why does Elvira think she's still lower than Agnes? Do you get? Because the dressmaker wants to force a kiss on Agnes, and Agnes, fucking slapped him and spat out and all of that. Yeah, because she was disgusted. But Elvira didn't see the harassment in that moment. She just felt like, oh my god, this girl is fuckable. She's still fuckable to as she's a maid and covered in dirt and ugly and not ugly, but covered in dirt and not her perfect self. She still is fuckable to this dressmaker. And then it sends her into a rage and she finds out about Agnes's dress and she rips it into shreds, mockingly, and goes to bed. Meanwhile, all this while we're still seeing something going on with Rebecca, the mother. But we'll get to that in a bit. So she debuts at the ball, and from the first moment the prince lays his eyes on her, she's fuckable. Everybody looks at her butt. It's so perky, it's so tight. Even the dance is something unique. Like I thought it would, like I said, it was not ballet, it was just dance. It's like a folk dance, kind of like a traditional dance. Maybe it's ballet, I don't know much about ballet like that, but it's so wonderful. Do you get? She dances, in this, and she's the center of the flower. They make like a flower with petals, and she's the, what do they call it? The stamen. No, the stigma. The thing that is being pollinated by the bee. Her silhouette is pretty, her body is pretty. I give it to her. She has been transformed into a swan in that moment. And everybody agrees. All the women, all the men, all the old men, the codgers, all the boys, all the girls, they all agree that yes, she's supposed to be the center of the flower, the center of the dance. And the prince is like, may I have this dance? All these men are looking at her, not with the sense of this is a beautiful woman that, I'll fall in love with. No, with the sense of, oh, the prince is going to enjoy fucking this woman. And the prince too expresses it as much. Like, I think there's shots of his dick or his bulge or something getting hard, or I don't know. I don't know if maybe I'm just imagining it, but he sees her as fucking, he barely recognizes her. She's something different now. And does he care about recognition or not? No, I don't think he does. I believe he does not. He's just interested in fucking her. So, and how is he going to fuck her? By marrying her. They are dancing, and in this moment, I'm like, is it over? As this can this girl rest? But I know the classic is not over. Like, can this girl rest? You get, can this girl have her moments in the spotlight? You know, in the classic cartoon, it's like the Drizzle and Anastasia is like they're just giving right of way to dance with the prince simply because their mothers bring them there. But we can see that they actually worked to be there. Elvira really worked to be there. Alma doesn't give a fuck. Alma progressively gets more masculine presenting as the movie goes on. But that's in the Alma section. I will discuss it. She worked hard to be there. She went for the classes. She twisted and shaped her body to be perfectly fuckable and everything. And then she's with the tapeworm. She's perfectly thin. She's pale. She doesn't have any blood left in her body. The tapeworm has soaked everything out, but she's there. She's standing. She's dancing. And as she's dancing, she's feeling the pangs of hunger that is typical of the tapeworms knocking on her door for food, knocking on her brain for food. So she's dancing with the prince, and it's a good time for her until Cinderella shows up. And Cinderella's dress is made out of the silkworms that were feasting on her father's corpse. Her mother goes appears and she says, "Look," and she sees the silkworms making a dress for her, and the silkworms make a dress for her. And she covers her face with a sort of a mask that just show off only her eyes, and the prince sees her and is enthralled. That's the madness of it all. The guy only sees what? Her blonde hair and her eyes. He does not see the nose. Somebody that has Elvira shaped her nose so that the prince will see her as beautiful. Agnes' mask is covering her nose, her mouth, her face, the shape of her face, the angularity of her face. Everything is being covered by this freaking mask. She's just wearing a blue dress and blonde hair. And Prince is saying, "Oh, it's like he has seen a shiny new toy," and immediately cut short the dance with Elvira. And Elvira is devastated and she's confused and she's losing her mind literally because the worms have gotten into her brain and she's losing her mind. She does not know where she is. She's trying to see who is this girl, who is this girl, who is this girl, who is this girl. And then we have this pivotal moment in the dance where the prince throws Agnes back for this stupid movement in the dance, and as she bends, the mask flips over and Elvira can see. Elvira comes face to face with Agnes upside down. And it's like, are you kidding me right now? Like, she's incensed, she's furious, but there's nothing she can do because the dance starts up again and she can't reach Agnes and interrupt them or whatever. But then the clock strikes midnight and Agnes has to leave before all of her magic fades away. So she leaves. Meanwhile, Elvira is there in the background. Her mother has gathered her around with men, old men, young men, barons, lords, all of them that, "Oh, do you want to dance with my daughter? Do you want to dance with my daughter?" Like, she's as if she's like a fish salesman peddling off fish, you know? So, like, what did I even write? Sef? I'm not going to sit down, but I'll talk about it in the mother's aspect. So she leaves the ballroom and she goes out and then she starts to throw up tapeworm eggs. Like, oh, it's the most disgusting, gory thing. I don't know how I watched it, but I do because, like I said, it's this train wreck, you know, and now the train wreck is in real time motion happening in front of my face, and I can't stop it, I can't pause it, I can't change it, I can't fast forward it, I just have to watch it play out. And she's vomiting eggs, and the men are coming to her, and her mother is still peddling her, and eventually the whole thing ends, and she goes back home. She's crying, she's weeping. "Mom, mom, mom, the prince is not going to look at me anymore. The mom, is Agnes, is Agnes." Agnes is working as a maid in the kitchen. It's as if she never left the house that night. And Elvira is so mad. And the mother is like, "What's your problem? Go upstairs. She has been here all night. She wouldn't dare go to the ball, blah, blah, blah." And Elvira is crying. She has lost her prince. All her hard work, what was it for? Agnes left her shoe. And the prince held on to the shoe. And he was like, "I have to find the owner of the shoe. I have to find the owner of the shoe. Send a message out." So at night, which is what her mother does for her, Rebecca comes to feed her this drug. I think it's opium, you know, liquid, and I don't know if it's opium. I just think it's like a mind numbing drug. You get, and she gives it to her, and Elvira is drugged out, you know, so heavily drugged out, and she starts to have this idea that she's going to meet the prince only if her legs fit the shoe. That's now is about her feet. Like, at first they said, "Elvira, you're too fat, she ate the bomb. Elvira, your nose is not okay. They broke her nose into pieces without anesthesia. And Elvira, your eyes need to be bigger." Elvira, she went and got bigger eyes and everything. Now it's her foot, It's her food that's going to be the determiner of her being with her one true love, the prince. Like it's so it's never ending. This machine that puts women, girls through the grinder, saying, oh, you have to be beautiful to be deserving of love. You have to be beautiful to be deserving of a stable marriage. Not just getting married, though. For your husband to be there with you all through your life, you have to constantly perform beauty. You have to constantly perform femininity. And it's like you adjust your nose, you adjust your face, you quit your job, you stop working, you stay at home, you go to work, you have children, you don't have children, you lose weight, you do breast, you do bum, you do leg. Now it's foot, fine. Elvira, ever the good Girl Scout, will chop off her foot to fit this prince's need for the shoe. Which is wow, this prince is actually insane. Insane, but I've not got to the prince aspect here. I'll still get to the prince aspect. But like she decides to chop off her toes so that it will fit the fucking shoes. She finds Cinderella. Yeah, she fights Agnes. I mean, she fights Agnes, and somehow she comes across the box with the one shoe left, the one glass slipper, and she tries to wear the slipper, but the slipper does not fit her. It's like a child's foot. Like, what kind of leg does that, what kind of feet does Agnes have? Which is also another standard of beauty that is very, very clear. I know this one because I'm personally affected by it. Like, I think at the age of 9, I started wearing 40 something. Like my mom would I remember the last Christmas party we did in primary school. I think I was 9 there, primary 6 or primary 5, and my mom and I was supposed to perform like in choreography. I was supposed to, all of that school activities for the Christmas party. I'd been practicing all month for it, but we had to get perfect dress and perfect shoe. The perfect dress was not an issue. You get, I think I was still in Agnes size. Sorry, I was in Elvira size. Like I was big for my age. That's what everybody told me. I was so big for my age, blah blah blah. You're so big, you're so big. Are you 15 when I was like 9 or 8? Are you 15? You're so big. Anyways, that was the least of my problem. Clothes would always have sizes for children. As long as you're a child, you can get clothes, all of that as a girl. It's hard, really, really hard, but you can do it. Shoes now. How do you do shoes? Then, as a child, I learned to suck in my stomach. I learned to stop sucking my tummy. I would suck in my tummy. Now, I find myself having to consciously, intentionally breathe out to let my stomach be free because I started sucking in my belly at a very, very, very young age because everybody was like, the stomach is too big. The dress will be fine if you had a flat tummy, sucking your tummy. So, what was I talking about? Shoes now, guys. We went round. If you see how big this market I'm talking about is, and I think that's why I even hate going to the market now. We went round the entire market for hours at first we're looking for this pretty, with bows, all these beaded, all these pretty shoes, that girls wore, that it was Christmas shoes and all that. That one was hopeless for me. There was no fucking way I was going to see one in my size. We're like, okay, let's look for cover shoe. Shoes that had like covers, like I don't know what to call them, but with heels or something. No heels, no pencil heel, no stilettos for me because stilettos are not made with that huge feet size. So we're just looking for block heels, like platform heels, but cover shoes. And it was not even heels, it was just like any shoe that would match my dress. We went around the market. I'll never forget my mom, my poor mom. She was also desperate. She really did her best for me. I mean, at that point, I was already giving up. I was like, I'll not wear the fine dress. I don't know what I'll do, but I don't know what to do. Like, as a child, like, I didn't know. Eventually, I came across the shop and it was only one he had, and it was 39, and it was wild because that 39, yes, it was like a big 39, and I forced my feet into it, and from the market, literally from the market, we had to run back home because I did my hair in the market too. So I rushed back home. We dressed up. I was like, that was the reason why I was late for the Christmas party. And even then, I had to do a lot of events with my dress, and that should chop my leg. Like it was so tiny. Like 39 was too small for me. Like feminine shoes are not made in 40s. Like all these pretty shoes, all this Miu Miu and whatever. I don't. have any desire to own them. I've never had any desire to own a Miu Miu shoe, all those pretty Mary Janes. I've never had any desire because I know that they will not make shoes in my size. So like this moment where like I know when I was a child, I literally wished to chop off some part of my feet just so that it would fit into a pretty shoe. And I gave up at a certain age and I said like, you know what, I'll just start wearing sneakers. And even sneakers too, you have to look for big size and you have to look for the male coded ones because they are feminine coded sneakers. Those feminine coded sneakers are pretty and dainty were not available in my size. Male coded, masculine coded sneakers were more my matched my feet. Do you get? Like, I have big feet though, but am I the only one that has big feet? I'm not. You get? But like that moment where and I think because of the drugs her mother, you know, fed her with is what made her make such a decision. I don't know if I was maybe if I was drugged up, I would have tried chopping off my own toes too because it was so frustrating, you know, to I just like I don't care about shoes. I'm not going to any party because at the end of the day, if you want to wear a skirt, the shoes you wear is all these churchy shoes, these shoes that are women that had already given their life to Christ and refuse to put on anything attractive again for the rest of their life wore those kind of ugly ass Christian shoes. Those are the shoes that were my size and that were available for me, the options available for me. So like I really related to her. Like thinking about it now, I think I can relate to Elvira's chopping off her feet, her toes to fit into the shoe. And at the end of the day, it was not the right foot. It was not the right foot. And that's where my point on Elvira ends. Like those were the fun parts, those are the interesting things about Elvira that I made note of. Very, very valid, very, very like relatable. Like, should I chop them off to fit? And it's also interesting because also in parts of Asia, China is way ahead of it that they do this foot pounding where women will wrap their feet into like break their toes and then wrap it permanently with this cloth so that they can have this ideal of this shoe thing, this small piece of material that they call it shoe that they will like foot binding. Hey, foot binding, just look it up, foot binding. So like if I had known those things were available when I was a child, I'll probably have suggested it to my mom because it was insane. Everybody had on pretty shoes, everybody had small feet. And it's not like it's everybody. It's just that the people that have the small feet are meant to look like majority because all the old products in the market are tailored towards those small, pretty feet. And it's like if I'm ever, if I ever become this influential celebrity where someone like I want to do something for you. Do you want to have your own makeup line, your own clothing line? I'll say no. I want to have my own shoe line. I want to make shoes for people that are feminine coded or that identify as female with big feet. I want to make Miu shoes for those kind of people. Why can't you? They saying that the construction, the architecture of that fucking Mary Jane's is not suitable enough to reach somebody with size 43 or size 44. Is that what you're telling me? Is that what you're telling me? I think that's a fucking lie. So if I am in a position of power or when I'm in a position of power, I'm not making any fucking makeup line. I'm not making skincare fucking line. I'm not making any dress or clothing line, fashion line. I'm making shoe line. Shoe is also fashion. Yes, I'm making my own shoe collection for people with big feet. People that want to wear pretty shoes but have big feet. That's what my own investment is going to go towards because it's fucking insane. Because there are children with big feet that are girls, okay, that are girls, and there's no option for them in the market anywhere in the world. They have to wear sneakers, or just not go to the party at all because they don't have shoes that fit their feet. No way, oh. No way, not in my time, not while I'm alive. So let's go to the stepbrother aspect. Outfit change, scarf change, just general feelings change. And now we'll continue with the stepmother, or since we're looking at it from Elvira's perspective, we are dealing with Rebecca, Elvira's mom. So there are some points that stuck out to me, watching the whole film unfold. Now, the first point of interest is her mother marrying an old man she believed was rich. So yeah, that is, I think, pretty consistent. All the iterations of Cinderella I've seen, all of them, there was the implication that the stepmother or the mother married the man for money, for his wealth, and subsequently after he died, she became the lord and ruler over his house and his estate. The funny aspect of this one is that the man himself married her because he thought she was rich, which is something Rebecca kind of gives off. She gives us this energy of being stable, of being sturdy. In an era where if you were a widow, you were literally out of your ear in society, and your finances at large. But for her to make him feel, I think she's kind of like this. I wouldn't say con artist. I think she's just capable of using what she has to get what she wants. Then the second thing that shocked her to me is her refusal to give him a burial with his own money. Like, I know that eventually the corpse was important for the silkworm's appearance, for the grandmother, for her mother to, for Cinderella's mom to come up and, make up this dress out of silkworm, whatever. But like, it was weird. Like, why would she just refuse to bury him? Wasn't he thinking of the whole house? But the house was very huge, so maybe she kept him in a place where his smells would not, affect everybody. But it's like freaking maggots inside the house. I think, I don't think it was an outer building. So just inside a room inside the house. It was just very disturbing. Like, what kind of mental, like, how does her brain work? Do you get, for her to get to this point where she would leave a corpse to rot? And it's not like, I don't think she did it out of malice. She was just greedy. She just didn't want to spend an inch of his money out on him and his daughter. A bright idea to sell or marry her daughter into royalty, knowing that Elvira was nothing to write home about. Like, this woman is aware of her own charms, which we saw evidence throughout the movie. It was kind of subtle until it became very overt. But this woman, she knows how to charm men. You get, and she's very self, what do you call it? She's very confident in her own beauty and her grace and all of that. But the fact that she decided to sell Evira this dream of marrying into royalty, do you get, like, why did she do that? Like, why did she do that? I think at that point, if I like, when I think about it, is that she probably has this conclusion in her mind, which is what, like, you wouldn't blame her. It was the, I think, the ideology of the time that men were more interested in women as sex objects and servants. Do you get, you are, it's not about your pleasure, it's about their pleasure. And then you have to fulfill the role of managing his house, or if you are very poor, you turn into more or less the maid of the house. Do you get, it's not different from what these parents these days that put their kids, that are barely out of diapers, on Instagram, on TikTok, and create a fandom and audience around this child that knows nothing of what they are being set up for. You get, and it's like these children, they are just ordinary average kids here. If you look at their pictures, like, I'm not defining ugly or whatever, but like, children are just children, they're just, I cannot see them in the appeal of, I can't say child and think what's on our sex appeal. It's just impossible for me. I see them through this lens of, you're a child, you are just raw, you're just an egg, there's nothing, you're not contributing anything to this earth, in that sense of like aesthetics. But these mothers, these parents, these families, they set up kids, to be sold. And for it to be happening, like, it's happening in medieval times and it's happening in this time, and somehow it's as if it's so, like, worrisome. But it's like parents have been selling their children, especially their female kids, out for centuries. You get, and I don't think humanity is stopping anytime soon. It's just unfortunate and tragic to see it. It's just something that, like I'm watching a train wreck happen. And the only thing you can hope for is that these children grow up into their own, like, into adulthood and free themselves from these shackles. But then the thing about growing up into adulthood, some people grow up into adulthood, but this mindset of theirs that has been programmed and molded by their greedy parents, their greedy weird parents, because it's greed, it's money that they are looking for. Same thing as Elvira's mom. It's like when they grow up, they have to start like, how do you start undoing what your parents have done to your brain? It takes a lot of self-awareness and just mental work, like working on yourself, reclaiming your own identity. But like if you already fully believe and buy into what your parents have, your greedy parents have molded into your brain, that you're nothing more than some man's inevitable object, that he's going to own and care for the rest of your life. How do you undo that? Do you get? But one thing I believe in is human tenacity, which is what I really loved about this iteration of this adaptation of Cinderella. But let's keep going. A barely concealed slew of lovers she entertained for money while beating, punishing, and turning her stepdaughter into a housemaid for sleeping with her boyfriend. At least Agnes slept with her boyfriend. You, what are you doing? Like ever since this man died, this man has been entertaining every Dick and Harry that she can find, and I'm sure she was doing it for monetary gain, but also for our own personal satisfaction. Yes, women can enjoy sex. Women can have a slew of lovers just because they enjoy sex. They don't have to be getting money from their lovers to be sleeping with them. Not everything is financial, transactional. But some women just enjoy sex. You get. But this one is very weird. Like the way she punished her, like I guess she was just trying to maintain. And it's also weird because like you're literally selling your daughter to the prince. You're the prince that you don't know anything about. Do you get? And he, like, what is wrong with a young girl having a boyfriend and having sex? But like it's medieval ideals, I'm expecting too much, I'm reaching, you get. But the beating was too it was too intense. It was too punitive. Why would you beat her so much for? Like, it's not like a simple, you have a boyfriend, get out of here, go and be punished. Like, she beat her and she turned her into a literal maid. Like, she was waiting for an excuse, to relegate Agnes to the background and make her no longer be permanently a competition for her daughter among the dancers in the school. Which, as you see, is just like delaying the inevitable, actually. Then the next one, taking her child to a quack surgeon to sculpt her nose without anesthesia. Like I've already talked about how this thing here, when I'm talking about Elvira, but like she's insane. This Rebecca is actually insane. But like, how do we define insanity? Yeah, she would tell everybody now that she was doing it for survival so her children can have a great future. And it's like, your daughter does not have the nose to attract a man. She was not born with the nose to attract a man, and the money to pay this doctor is not there. The somebody else's money you're using, and there's no anesthesia. Like, can't you just give up at this point? You can just let her work with what she have, and you keep on calling her beautiful and everything. So what is the why did you what was I like that this iteration showing the mother side as well. All the while we've always seen the sisters as these two-dimensional characters that they're just like puppets. Of course they are mean because they are girls jealous of a pretty innocent girl. Do you get it? That's the level of depth that was given to female villainesses in the past. You get, like, you just see them as, oh, it's just jealous of this innocence of this other girl that is much much precious and cuter and more naive and innocent than you are. You are spoiled goods. You are ugly, so therefore you are evil. Like, you know, equating ugly with evil deeds, like putting a character that is darker to be the villain, putting characters that are not fair, like in this country now, Nigerian movies, a lot of the dark characters in the movies growing up that I was watching in Hollywood were evil, and the light characters were the angel. When I mean like fair skinned characters were the angels, the dark guys, the black men were evil. So, and ugly, we have our own standard of beauty here. So the people that unconventionally ugly were made to be these evil sisters, and all of that. But my point is that we are seeing Rebecca for what she did to her daughters. We're seeing the daughters, the factors that contributed to this person, being playing this role in this story. You get, like, they are being punished by the system, and the mother Rebecca is playing according to the rules of the patriarchy. You understand? And the patriarchy Those is not only for men, it's mostly very impactful in women. This is how it is sustained for generations to generations. The mothers teach it to their daughters, the daughters teach it to their daughters, like, and it goes on and it goes on and it goes on. And this patriarchy encourages internalized what misogyny. That is why you see women hating women, and there is also the fact of agency. But aside of agency, you can just hate somebody regardless of gender, just for hating sake. You get that there are genuine haters like that. But like this generalized thing where a woman is always seeing another woman as competition, as what are we competing for? What are women competing for? Who? What? The random dressmaker that cannot make enough salary to buy his own house, that is going from house to house selling women, selling dresses to women, or stealing clothes from other women to sell to women. Like, is that who we are? Is that who women are set out to compete for? Or a prince that poetry he writes is all about his dick, and he seems like someone that thinks with his dick instead of his brain? Is that who women are supposed to compete for, to vie for? Then immediately the prince rejected the daughter, at the ball and all of that. Her selling the her daughter already to the barons, to the lords, to the dukes, telling her, "Don't worry, you get another man, blah blah blah. I just want you to be in the room." And that's the main thing. Like all these women setting up, like I think there was a lot of gist about like Kate, Kate Middleton, the royalty, about how from when she was born, her mother had set her up to be a prince's wife. So there's this training because there's this family that the royal family picks. Like there are this group of names that the royal family picks from when they want to choose a bride for their sons or their kings or their princes. And then from birth, some women train their children to be basically to make the prince the center of their world. Do you get? And this is kind of like that situation. You get? And that's why like it's kind of interesting because it's like now you have to ask yourself, is it that Elvira had always loved Julian, or it has always been a fantasy sold to her by her mother from childhood that she's going to marry the prince? Like someone like Kate Middleton, now, if all those rumors were true and she sees the prince and she's convinced that she loves Prince Charles. Sorry, what's that his name? Prince William. She's convinced she loves him. Like what makes up that conviction? Is it not most of the programming of her mother? You get? And it's kind of sad if you think about it, but I think at the end of the day people make their choices. Do you get? I have to give them credit for the choices that they make with their life. She ended up marrying the prince she was set up her whole life to marry. I wonder how she feels on the inside. I wonder if she has a fulfilling life now. She has found some way to, be happy with herself. To get? Because at some point these girls, they become adult, they grow up, their eyes are open to see that this is the hand. Like I don't know what I'm saying, but basically just like in real life it happens. Do you get? And sometimes in real life these women are successfully sold to this fantasy. Do you get? They are successfully connected with these men that they are set up for, and we brand them like, oh, she made it. Like, oh my god, she's now a princess, she's a duchess. I think she's next in line of the royalty. I don't know her particular title, but yeah, she's this title, she's that title. We say she had made it. The mother will be like, I've secured your future. But what future are you securing? You get? Like, I don't know. Like, it's just so. Now I'm talking about it. It's just making me feel so tired. Do you get? So like for me, for me, this watching Elvira fail at grabbing the prince's attention for longer till Cinderella comes, I feel like that was her happy ending, and I'll get to that in my conclusion. I feel like that was very fairy tale esque. Like the person in this fairy tale, the person in this fairy tale is centered around is Elvira, and it doesn't look like it. You get? It doesn't really look like it at first glance because eventually Cinderella would get her prince. But why did Cinderella marry Prince Julian? Does she like him? Does she care about him? No, it's a marriage of convenience. You get? And she's using him to get what she wants. You get? In a situation where society did not allow her to, you know, be the benefactor of her father's estate. Understand? Because why did the man go to marry another woman? Your daughter is fully grown. Anyway, he married her because he thought she was going to have money and all of that. Whatever. So my question is like, when she sells her daughter to when she starts peddling Elvira to all these barons and dukes and lords. It's like, what was all the point of the um what was all the point of this train wreck? Like, what was all the point of it? And the answer is there. Like, that is the point. It's not just aiming. She was not just aiming for the prince. She was aiming for her daughter to just get to this quality that makes her sellable, that makes her a product. Yes, she was making her daughter into a product to be sold, and she deceived her daughter. Yes, it's the prince we're aiming for, but in her heart of heart, she just wanted her daughter to be with any random ass rich man. After her daughter hacks up the wrong food, she comes into the room. Alma is horrified and like, what is happening? What is happening? And they're binding up the legs. They help me bind up legs so she doesn't lose her blood and dies. She now hacks off the second foot. Like, why? She said that is not the right foot. Like, why did you hack it off? Like, she's not going to wear this fucking shoes. She's not in a position by now. Yeah, I didn't mention it earlier, but by now, Elvira has lost all of her teeth. Do you get, because of how bad the tapeworm had eaten through her body? She has lost all of her teeth, and she's like, it's just, what else do you want from this child, from this girl? Hmm? Talking about Elvira losing her teeth and the tapeworm, we now move to Alma. Alma was not invested at all. Alma presented masculine. She was not buying into all the nonsense her mother, although her mother's attentions were not focused on her though. Alma was given this dimension, this 3D dimension, this depth, by showcasing how much she cared about her sister, how she had advised or tried to advise her sister and tried to guide her. At the end of it all, when she woke up and she saw, when Elvira woke up and realized that her 2 foot were gone, she woke up from a fantasy. She was just screaming and crying. And then Alma came. I was like, it's enough. All this madness is enough. Like, are you not ready to take the antidote? Take the antidote and let it end. And so Gelly took the antidote. Elvira took the antidote. After taking the antidote, she started vomiting out all of the tapeworm's eggs. And that scene was so gory. I don't know how I watched it. But like I said, I had to see the train wreck to its very bitter end. And I was like, there was a part of me that was kind of like begrudging, you know, seeing the end, because I thought it would be this fade out. Agnes connected the prince and fade out. You get, but no. After Agnes, when the prince came to look for Agnes, for the person with the shoe, not Agnes. When the person came to look for the person with the shoe, the person that the shoe would fit. Oh God, I like that shoe. I like that movie. If the shoe fit, Roblo was just so gorgeous. Like, I watched that movie over and over and over and over and over again. As I was saying, so Agnes went to, and I was like, is it the end? But inside, Alma helped her sister pull out the tapeworm in its entirety out of her. It just looked like, I can't say it. Like, you guys just have to watch it. If you've watched it, just, I don't know, that scene, like, what did you think of the scene? Was horrifying. I don't think there's a word for it. And as she pulled out, I'm sure different things were getting dislodged inside of her. Her seats were like condemned. Like, there's no way she's coming back from the way her teeth. And considering how long, it's important to notice the way the teeth became wrecked, because this is somebody that put on braces earlier, that had on braces for a very long time, to purposely make her teeth, turn out okay. And she removed the braces for what? For the tapeworm to eat. So, anyways, Alma helped her pull out the tapeworm, and then, very importantly, Alma pieced her sister together, literally, like picked up her in pieces, picked her sister up in pieces, placed her on a horse, and both of them left their mother in the house and ran away. I don't think it was a running away. I think it was just a leaving. It was a decision to leave. I've not watched that movie yet. Maybe I will one day, but I'm scared. Like, decision to leave. Is it not that one with Tangwe? Yeah, it's one with Tangwe. I've watched it. I've not finished it. That's my thing. That's what I do. I want to give the prince any weight. He's such a useless character. He's not useless in the sense like he doesn't play any role here. He's useless in the story. Like,
He's useless in the sense that he's a prop. You understand? Even the girl is that want to marry him, he's not a real person to them. Do you get? Elvira only sees Prince Julian as the object of her fantasy, somebody that would, I don't know, just the object. He's an object, he's not a real person. Now when she sees the real person that he is, she denies it in her mind. She decides to make up for whatever she sees and kept on propping him up as this darling savior of her fantasies. As for Agnes, Agnes just wanted a way out of the mess her father had put her in. Because tell me why you married her. Okay, you married her from now, she does not have money. Now what? So the prince is actually important to show us that in this system of the patriarchy, nobody's a real human being. Not the man and not the woman, not the girl. Nobody's a real human being. The patriarchy exists to serve its own goals, which is oppression, you know, oppression and the continuation of itself. You know, every system will do anything to perpetuate itself, you know. And so the patriarchy, for it to continue to exist, it will sacrifice anybody. That's why men are not safe from the patriarchy. Men think when you say patriarchy, you're attacking a man specifically. You're thinking of this man in your mind or a group of men in your mind. And it's like, no, you weirdos, it's not about you. Which is also funny because why do they always think that it's the center of every conversation? Like anything you want to say now, it's just like, you're talking about men, you're talking about me. It's not you. It's you, it's the system that you are helping to perpetuate because it has deceived you that you are benefiting from it. But if you are not rich, like the stable hand now, he was not rich, he was nothing. He was just a stable boy. Look at him missing out on love and opportunities and a job and employment and being kicked out of the house because he's not up to the standard that the patriarchy demands. The person at the top of the food chain among the men is the prince. You get, and he gets to pick of the choicest maiden. What about the other men in town? They have to wait for him to pick. How do they feel about that? I think they're always on and on about how they don't want to be submissive and all of that. But the patriarchy forces men to line up according to their size, basically. You don't get any shit until the person that is better and richer and more conventionally handsome than you get their stuff first. And they just follow willingly. Most of them just follow willingly because they think, at least I'm getting something. I'm not like those ones that are the objects, women. I'm not like those ones that are not there. They don't even have a say. Like you don't have a say either. You don't have a say either. Is it not the story of this boy that they named this child that they named the prettiest boy in the whole world? That I think in his later years he expresses a lot of regret for being put on that circus train. You know, he expressed a lot of regret for being seen the way he was, for being given that title, you know, and all of that and all of that. So it's something to consider that nobody's benefiting from this system of beauty standard, this system of oppression, you know, that the patriarchy persists in. Because if the patriarchy gives up in this system, it will cease to exist. This system of patriarchy is a living, breathing thing. It's very, very sentient and it's very, very violent. It's bloodthirsty, you know, and nobody is, as much as you say is a system, has it is more, it regards itself as more human and deserving of existence than you, the actual human being it is, which you are a subject of. Do you get? The patriarchy sees itself as more human and deserving of existence than you, to which it make its subject. You get? I keep saying it's because patriarchy is not gendered. You get? A specific gender might be benefiting from it, but it is not gendered. Anyways, as I was saying, nobody's benefiting from the system. Now. This is my takeaway. I'm going to read out my takeaway. I'm going to emphasize the parts that were really, really important to me. In the Ugly Stepsister, I absolutely love that, battered as Elvira was, seemingly uglified by everything she had been through, newly disabled and clearly hopeless, we were shown all of her as she crawled around and eventually was picked up by her sister. Instead of rotting and dying, she agreed to live with her sister and completely abandon her mother. It gives me hope and makes her story one with a happy ending, that she continues to go on. That is the happy ending. I can conclude that
The fairy tale is centered around this sister Elvira, and she's the one that gets the happy ending because all the things she goes through in this film is literally how every girl born into this world is twisted, indoctrinated, trained, and tested to perform for the patriarchy. This test, this exam, we all fail hopelessly and are deemed useless, second rate, to be peddled into marriages of convenience, never allowed to dream anymore, instead doomed to continually try to survive. It's a fairy tale because this one finds freedom. The ones whose physicalities, as in the women, whose physicalities and forms are deformed or destroyed, whether willingly or against their will or from birth, and I mean deformed or destroyed through all these procedures that they do to pass this test of the patriarchy, are expected to rot away in the darkness, a burden on society. We see somebody has even made a show out of botched, where people that went under the knife, you know, that and cannot reclaim their forms back. They went through horrible procedures. There's some people that even die. A lot of people die during plastic surgeries, and it's not popularized anymore. It's not talked about. It's not more used to fear monger again. It's now, oh, it's just a simple injection. Oh, it's just a process. Once you go to a good doctor, you are safe and all of that. But people still die regardless of how very uncomplicated it's been. I like simple procedures. So many women, actually now that Korea is like one of the hotbeds of plastic surgery, so many people go there uninformed, so many foreigners go there uninformed, and they end up with life altering disabilities that they literally brought upon themselves. And did they bring it upon themselves, or was it the mistake of the system, the mistake of the doctors, the people that keep on advertising the doctors just to make a sale, just to make money off of people's insecurities and people's compulsions that were ingrained in them from an external body, not by themselves? I'm going on. Because this is a fairy tale, this reject Elvira finds community in her sister. Accept life simply as it is, to live and let live without the burdens and expectations of performance of femininity for an overlord system, the patriarchy. The simple act of being alive, therefore, as a human being born into a world is enough, ugly or beautiful, able bodied or disabled. And that is why this is a fairy tale to me. That is why the story of Elvira is a fairy tale. She gets a happily ever after regardless. And a happily ever after is the only one that matters because she's free of this system. She doesn't have to play this game anymore. I recently made a video. In fact, my last video was about how I'm refusing to play the game of the algorithm. So many games exist in this human life that we find ourselves in. The games of social media where you perform when you want to be a content creator, you have to perform for the algorithm. When you want to be a woman in the world, you have to perform for the patriarchy, else you are deemed not woman enough. When you are born trans, and you want to be what you are on the inside, they still demand that you perform passability. Like you have to pass. If you are not passing, you are not trans enough, you're not a woman enough. And it's like, no, you don't have to play those games. You do not have to play those games. And sometimes some people see it through to the end. They don't have proper guidance or have tools, to navigate this already prepared world that they were born into. Do you get? And so they have to just go along in the cage that they find themselves in. But the truth is that that cage is not one without a key, and the key is just inside of you. The moment when Elvira, like I like that, I like another important aspect of it is Alma. Alma being there for Elvira, is the literal opposite of whatever the patriarchy preaches. That women are a competition. You should be jealous of your stepsister. Your stepsister is to be hated. Your own sister is to be this. And it's like, if you turn it the other way around, like, why can't your sister be your friend? Why can't your sister be your comrade? Why can't your sister be your community? And this thing is because they'll say, okay, you people are blood sisters. It's a lie, even among sisters. like me, I don't have sisters, sha, so I don't think I can speak for the sister having community. But we see so many movies. Like growing up, we watch many movies where blood sisters would. There's even a Nigerian movie, Blood Sisters, where blood sisters would deem the other one competition. Deem the other one unworthy of the perks of life, and feeling as if all the male attention and the perks of being objectified by the system, maybe a capitalist system or a patriarchal system of their household, should go to her, not her sister. I'm even watching one Korean drama sef, The Good Witch, twin sisters, where one is supposedly written as this evil, villainous, selfish character, and the other one written as this do-gooder with no sense of self-worth. So she makes everybody the center of her life instead of herself. Those kind of polarities, very 2000s nonsense and whatever. And it was in 2000 or something. So I agree. My point is like sisters can be your friend. Sister can be the woman walking down the street. Sisters can be your neighbor. Sisters doesn't have to be related to you by blood. But somehow we are all indoctrinated to see even the ones related to us by blood as competition, as the problem, as something to fight. It's just competition, and I like that my real enjoyment of this story is that we didn't fade into the darkness with Agnes passing off and going off with her prince. No, we didn't fade into the darkness. We were left to bear with the gory consequences of what society really does to women, which is was embodied in Elvira. You understand? And we looking at Elvira, looking at the train wreck of Elvira, losing all her teeth, a huge ass monstrous what do you call this thing that used to live inside the water? Loch Ness monster living inside her own belly, pulled out, her foot gone completely. She's newly disabled. You get someone that was never disabled and became disabled. No, she has to start her life learning her body anew again. All of that, it was not daunting to Alma. Alma still looked at her and saw a human being. And one very interesting thing about it is like when all is said and done, I mean when you have performed for a patriarchy and you have failed, I think it's okay for us to still look at ourselves, you know, in that moment and be like, yeah, I can, now that I've done femininity, I've performed womanhood. I think now I want to be a human being, just a human being, nothing more, nothing less. Where what does a human being do? What does a human being like? How does a human being behave? What interests a human being? Is a human being even interested in love or romance or any of that thing at all? If you're interested, then how does a human being fall in love? Not what do women look for in men? What do women want in a partner? How do women keep their marriages? How do women keep their relationships? Women are from Venus, men are from Mars. That shit nonsense from a but kind of stupid sort of publications, that plagued my childhood. All of that, you know, I that's why even when I spoke about the whole Kylie thing, Kylie herself, I think she has gotten to that whole thing she did on their family show. Although all of it is part of the whole game that they are playing, but I like to believe there's a thread of genuineness, in that whole thing where she's on camera, she's crying that she's tired. I didn't watch it, but mostly what I took away from it was that she's tired of being seen as this, model or this epitome of femininity when she doesn't feel like it. I don't know, maybe she feels ugly now. She feels like it was pointless. At that point, a lot of people were hounding her in the sense of saying, you see, you that you were putting yourself as the models for girls, you get, and girls ruin their bodies following your stupid advice, girls ruin their sense of self-worth and self-esteem, looking at you, when you were literally faking it and breaking your body into pieces and buying this whole beauty thing that you were parading as natural. Little girls were ruined by you. It's like both the girls that were ruined, both Kylie Jenner, both of them are losers. You get, both of them failed. Do you get? And it's not losers in that harsh sense of failing in that harsh. Both of them failed and both of them lost to the system. Okay, at the end of the day, the system is the one profiting off of these two parties, whether you're wealthy or you're not wealthy. Whether you're wealthy, but your wealth is not able, like you see that Elvira, as beautiful as she is, and probably being admired by her fellow girls for being the epitome of being the number one. There was a literal tapeworm inside her that was eating everything that she was, eating her, consuming her from the inside, a literal abyss inside of her that would not have stopped until it consumed that whole inside of her. So who's to say there's no tapeworms inside all these models of beauty, these people that are so-called perpetuating the beauty standard? Who's to say they don't have tapeworms inside of them? Like, what about the who is going to give them the antidote? Who is going to be their alma in that system, in that whole circle of yes men and yes women? Who will be their almas? Who is going to give them the antidote? Do they have the antidote? The person that gave them the tapeworm, that put that tapeworm inside of them, most times did not give them antidote. In this day and age, like in this metabolic, like metaphorically or symbolically, there was no antidote given to these girls, this so-called standard. They have to literally wait out this tapeworm and force it out. Some of them are consumed by it, and we keep on referring to them like, who's to say instead of Kylie Jenner, there's no tapeworm there, just consuming and consuming and never satisfied. And that's why even after making such a video where she's like, regretting all of her procedures and regretting being put in this position of of idol, like idol worship, where she's the idol of beauty for a lot of for that whole generation. You get, like, who's to say there was no tapeworm inside her? Who's to say there was no tapeworm inside her? And the person that put the tapeworm, that's why she can do that and still come along and still be giving people advice online that, oh, go to this doctor, put the silicone size in your breast, cut yourself like this, and you have the type of breast I have. Like, who's to say? Like, sometimes you can have moments of clarity. Like, sometimes Elvira had moments of clarity, but at the end of the day, the tapeworm kept on eating and eating and eating and eating. Hopefully one day some people find the, and those people, those idols, find the antidote and vomit out this tapeworm, and then become actual human beings, allow themselves to be seen, allow themselves to be human beings. You understand? So I don't know if this was coherent. This is more than the whatever, but like, it's just so interesting. Like, those people that we look at with the money and everything, like Kim Kardashian now, she obviously has a tapeworm inside of her. And I don't mean literally. I mean like metaphorically or symbolically. How do you call it? She obviously has a tapeworm inside of her. Those women that you see upholding beauty standards, trying to keep up with the time, with the changes, with everything. Oh, Big Mama was raining. Oh, Black Center is raining. Oh, now they've changed. Oh, now they're not eating too much. Oh, they have removed all their fillers. They have removed all their bum bum. They removed all the silicone. All of those things. Is it not reminiscent of somebody trying to fill a void? At least in Elvira's case, there was an antidote and she could, you know, get rid of. She had community to help her get rid of the tapeworm on the inside of her. These women may never find such community. These women may never allow themselves to find such community. These women may never take the antidote. And that's just their lot. And they have to make peace with it. The ugly stepsister, lays bare, the system, the world. We live in a world. The ugly stepsister lays bare the kind of um world we operate in and the systems that move us. Do you get? And you cannot fight any system. You can't. You can't win against the system. You can't even change. Don't even bother. You can't change the system. This beauty thing. You can opt out though. And that those are the type of fairy tales I wish to introduce to the next generation. Do you get? Maybe I will write a book, maybe I will write something, but I want to write something like this, something that gets to the end of it. Some stories will be like fairy tale where the person now finally realizes, oh, I don't need those procedures. They now stop it, they now treat it, they say, I love myself. No, no, in real life, people get to the end of themselves, and that was Elvira's end. She got to the end of herself. She saw it through to the very bitter end. But like, people are scared of endings, forgetting that an ending can also be the beginning of something new. You get, like, that sounds so corny, so cheesy, but it's true. It's true. A lot of ends usually signal a beginning, and the beginning is very uncertain. It's fraught with tension, like we don't know what we are going to see. But it's the beginning. We can make new choices. We can be whatever we want to be. And most of all, for women, you can be a human being. You can reclaim your humanity, your personhood. You can just be, you know. The end of something is simply a new beginning. And I like that we got to the very end. That's the fun part. That was the most beautiful. This is the most beautiful iteration of Cinderella to me. We saw the end. We saw the end. There are so many points I think I want to even make, but I like that I've come to this conclusion. I like that I was able to see this video to the end, and now at the beginning, like like I've ended the video. So what is the beginning? What's the beginning at this end? The editing process. The editing. But anyways, thank you for watching. If you've gotten to this point of in the video, I appreciate you. Thank you for giving me your time, for spending time with me like this. I hope whatever I can take away from it, I would appreciate seeing it in the comments. Subscribe for more, and I will see you in the next one. Bye bye.